of Governors has termed the ongoing nurses' strike illegal as the right procedure was not followed for industrial action as stipulated in law. Well, in studio to discuss this further is the National Deputy Chairman of the Kenya National Union of Nurses, Fredrick Oigo. But before we get into this conversation, let's find out what really is happening on the ground. And our reporter, Timothy Otieno, will be joining us later. He's been doing a number of spot checks in public hospitals in the country, and he'll be telling us what really is the situation. Earlier on, we had a conversation as well with Victor Ogale on the status of the nurses' strike in the county of Nakuru. But first, let's get into this discussion with Dr. Oigo. Thank you very much for joining us here on Kivumbi 2017. 2.5 months, you're still out of work.
Thank you, Akisa. It seems like the elections overshadowed the strike. But I want to state that despite the fact that we are going to elections, the public service boards were still operational. So we expected that as much as the politicians were going about their campaigns, the public service boards should have come out clearly and continued engaging the nurses so that we have the CBA signed and then the nurses go back on duty. So
what are you saying? There has been no engagement as far as the election period has been concerned?
That's right. That's right. Actually, the last meeting that we had with them was before, it's about a month ago. And since then, none has engaged us, although, as we have already always stated, we are open to dialogue, but none of the two levels of government has engaged the nurses union.
So why are you still on strike then?
Okay, of course, as you know the history of our CBA, yes, which we negotiated, concluded, it only signing that remained. And just before that, you are aware that we went on strike last year, December. But after entering a return to work agreement with both levels of government, we agreed that within 2 months, we were to negotiate a CBA, have it signed and registered in court. We are awaiting implementation in July. But the two levels of government, it appears they were not serious with the negotiations because somewhere down the line, they reached and changed their mind and now started blaming SRC that they are the ones to give them an okay to implement so that we send the CBA for implementation.
So in your view, who is the major stumbling block between nurses and the CBA?
As at now, it's actually COG, because SRC is saying that they are only awaiting a letter from the COG, the employer, confirming that they are able to honor to pay the nurse, meaning what the allowance that we agreed on. So, as it stands, the COG is yet to advise SRC whether they are able to pay or not. So we hold the COG responsible for the settlement.
But Fred, this particular strike was termed illegal by both the Council of Governors, and at some point we also saw the National Chairman, John B., say that this strike is illegal. Why are you still strong on your conviction that it should be out here?
The truth, Aki, is that this strike is not illegal. Because after entering a return to work agreement last year, we registered, we registered that, the consent in the court of law. And actually, as at now, the Council of Governors and even the national government failed to take us to court because they knew that they had not honored the agreement. Instead, they used John B. to take a case to court. We have up to, actually, even the judge has failed to rule on the case. In fact, the judge gave us up to 1st September when she's going to make a ruling on that case taken by John B.
So this looks like it has split the Kenya National Union of Nurses. So do we have nurses who are with John B. who are not on strike, and those who are with the likes of yourself and Seth Panyako who are on strike?
In fact, there is no nurse that is with John B. Except a few who are actually not even working, because the people you see John B. moving around with are not working. Some are retired, some were sacked, even he himself was sacked. So we don't understand which nurses. Actually, the National Executive Council is intact. It's only John B. who was expelled from the union, but went to court. So he's actually hanging on the court case to call himself chairman, but he's not the chairman. As far as the nurses are concerned, they rejected him because he betrayed them.
So who's the de facto leader of the union currently?
The de facto leader is Seth Panyako. Actually, the spokesman of the union is the general secretary, and that's Seth Panyako, with his National Executive Council, 14 of them. Yeah.
2.5 months out of work, and nurses being paid, but for this time that they're not offering services.
Yes, because the strike is not illegal. If the strike were illegal, we would not expect to be paid. But given that the strike is legal, there is no reason why any county should refuse to pay the nurses.
We've seen stories where some people in hospitals are dying. Just today on our dailies, there was a story of a woman who was turned away because there were no nurses in hospital, and later on passed on. How do you sleep at night? You're being paid, but you're not working, and Kenyans are suffering.
That's very sad, but we must also say the fact that nurses is only one cadre among the 18 cadres in the hospital. So other cadres are operating. But the fact what has come out clear is that minus the nurses, the hospital cannot run well. So even as we are sympathizing with the Kenyans who are suffering. And that's why I want the government to move fast, now that the elections are over. Let the government, both levels of government, move fast and end the stalemate. And, you know, unless they engage us, we cannot move. The stalemate still continues.
What really are you fighting for? Let's just take it back to the history of the collective bargaining agreement and the negotiations that have been there. Just how much are you looking for as nurses? And individually, if this was to be implemented, how much would a nurse of a particular cadre go home with?
There are two things here. One, there is job evaluation that is going on that will place the nurse where the nurse is supposed to be. And of course, this one cuts across. Then for their unique allowances that nurses are asking the government to pay, for example, research indicates that nurses are at higher risk, actually 30 times at risk of getting infections as compared to other cadres who work in the hospital. So we would want the government also to increase the risk allowance. That one was also agreed upon. And then also, nurses are the only uniformed officers who are working in the hospital. So, and we had agreed that to increase uniform allowance. And we also work over long hours. We also expected the government to increase extraneous allowance because nurses work during the holidays, at night, and even during the normal working hours. A nurse works for more hours as compared to other cadres because, one, a nurse cannot report off duty minus giving a report to those ones who are coming the next shift.
So you've mentioned that there have been no negotiations for the past few weeks when Kenyans had gone to the election. What is the way forward? No negotiations are happening. You're out there on strike. What direction is this taking?
Actually, we are hoping that very soon the government will engage us and we end the stalemate. You know, we, as I said earlier, we are open to dialogue and we are willing to engage so that we end this stalemate.
Have you reached out for the government? Yes.
So it's upon the government, and they know the magnitude of this problem. So it's upon them to engage us. And we have always told them that we are willing to meet with them, we engage, and I agree, and we end the stalemate. Nurses go back on duty, and we end the suffering of Kenyans.
But you mentioned that the Council of Governors is the stumbling block. We know that some governors are being sworn in. It is a change of guard in a number of the counties, and some are taking over the second term. So if the Council of Governors is a stumbling block, how are you going to work around this? Because we now have a change of guard. Actually,
as you have been hearing during the inauguration of the various governors, some of them have come out clearly and said that once they come into office, they are going to engage the nurses and see how to finish the strike. So we are hoping that what they have been telling the public, they are sincere, and hopefully that once they constitute the various committees, they will engage the nurses so that we end the stalemate and nurses will go back.
All right, before we get back to the conversation, let's speak to our reporter, Timothy Otieno, who's been doing a spot check in a number of hospitals, public hospitals in the city. Timothy, what can you report as of now?
Well, Akisa, most of the hospitals that were visited still remain largely deserted. Right now, we are actually in front of the Mbagathi Hospital here in Nairobi, where just a few minutes we were inside to try and have a look and assess how the situation is ongoing. And basically, most of the wards remain